The people, by the people.
ගමට සවිය දෙන ගම්මැත්තෙන් පේරාදෙනිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලීය දන්ත වෛද්‍ය ශික්ෂණ රෝහලේ මුඛ හනුක හා වක්‍ර ශල්‍ය වෛද්‍යාංශයේ ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණය කෙරුණු වාට්ටු සංකීර්ණය ජනතා අයිතියට ගම්මැත්ත රට නගර ජන පෞර ශ්‍රී ලංකා සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 7ට
ඇයි අපිට 17 වෙනි වතාවට IMF එක දිහා බලන් ඉන්න සිද්ධ වුනේ?
ඔක්කොම කොන්දේසි යට ගහලා හංගලා කොටසක් ගත්තට පස්සේ තමයි කොන්දේසි ටික එළියට දැම්මේ.
ඔබතුමියලා තෝරගෙන නැද්ද මෙන්න මේ වැනි ආකෘතියක් තමයි මේ රට ඉස්සරහට යන්න තියෙන්නේ කියලා?
මම දකින්නේ ලොකු වරදක් තමයි රටගොඩ නැංවීම කියන කාරණාවේදී ලංකාවට ජාතික ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් නොමැති.
අතන දැන් ඒ ජේවිප් එකට තිබ්බයි කිව්වේ රැල්ල නැති වෙලාද?
දැන් අපිට කරන්න වෙන්නේ මැතිවරණයක් දෙන්නේ නැත්නම් මැතිවරණයක් අපිට ගන්න වෙනවා.
ඡන්දෙට ගියාට පස්සේ වැඩිපුරම ඡන්දේ දාන්න යන්නේ මේ අපේ කාන්තා ඡන්දදායිකාවෝ.
සටන සඳුදා රාත්‍රී 9:30ට.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. There's a lot going on in the country, but we are here to report while you decide. Before we go into news in detail, let's first take a look at the top stories this afternoon.
Transportation of pigs that contracted the viral disease prohibited. Authorities warn of serious economic disadvantages if lumpy skin disease spreads further. National Poson Week to commence from today. A special transportation plan fund Radhapura to be implemented. The method in which TV stations are rated is wrong, Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media reveals in Committee on Public Accounts. Western Province amounts to 55% of dengue cases reported from the island.
Now on to your news in detail. The Northwestern Provincial Director of the Department of Animal Production and Health, BSS Pereira, says if the spread of the lumpy skin disease continues, it could result in a significant economic disadvantage.
2,000 cows have contracted the lumpy skin disease, which has been spotted in 35 out of 46 veterinary divisions in the Northwestern Province. According to the Minister of Agriculture, despite the chances of cows dying due to the disease is minimum, the milk production will reduce drastically. Previously, the disease was spotted in the North and Eastern Province. According to the Department of Animal Production and Health, once the disease is contracted, cattle will develop immunity to the disease, leading to zero possibilities of contracting the disease again.
වැළඳෙන සත්තු අපි පුළුවන් තරම් වෙන් කරලා තියාගන්න ඕනේ අනිත් සත්තුත් එක්ක හැසිරෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැතුව.
We must keep the animals that contract the disease separate from the healthy ones. If the cleanliness of the farms are maintained, the spread of this disease can be controlled. Treatments need to be given for flies and other insects.
ප්‍රතිකාර ක්‍රම කරන්න වෙනවා. අඩුම ගානේ මේ කොහොඹ තෙල් ටිකක් හරි ඇඟේ ගාලා එතකොට මේ මැස්සෝ පාලනය වෙනවා.
Department of Animal Production and Health requests dairy farms to consult with veterinarians if their cattle show symptom of the disease.
As of now, milk production has not been affected. However, the northwestern province produces 160,000 litres of milk per day. If an animal contracts the disease, it will stay in its body for 20 to 30 days. During that period, milk production reduces drastically. If an animal provides an output of 10 litres, it could only provide only 1 or 2 litres now. If the disease enters into efficient dairy farm, could have an impact on the daily production of milk.
Meanwhile, the distribution of vaccines for the lumpy skin disease was carried out in several areas, including Kuliyapitiya, Hindigola, Kuruvita and Mahalanda. Vaccines were provided to treat 20 cows that had contracted the disease.
Now on to a story that has been the talk of the town since quite recent. The Western Provincial Department of Animal Production and Health says that vaccines must be imported to tackle the growing disease among pigs as well. Now, Director of the department, K.K. Sarath, says that the required vaccines to combat the disease are not available in the country. The Director of the Western Province Department of Animal Production and Health urges farmers to consult veterinarians if an animal in their possession contracts the disease. Now, meanwhile, pigs from 4 farms that have contracted the disease have been identified. The Director of the Western Provincial Department of Animal Production and Health, K.K. Sarath, says that transportation of pigs that have contracted the disease has been prohibited. He added that there is no risk of the rapid spread of the disease and that it had affected Sri Lanka on a previous occasion as well. He further emphasized that there is no risk to humans from the disease. And now on to some other news. Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media, Anusha Palpita, says the system of rating TV stations is not correct and is done in an irregular and biased manner. He made these remarks at the Committee on Public Accounts.
රේටින් ගණනය කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා මට කියන පැහැදිලි කරන්න. රේටින් ගණනය කරන්නේ මතුම මෙහෙම. LMRB ආයතනයේ තියෙනවා boxes 400.
LMRB has set up 450 boxes in 450 unidentified houses. That gives them data as to what TV stations are tuned into. But in truth, 3 main TV stations has brought close to 300 boxes. They have paid those households 30,000 rupees and a bag full of goods. That's how the rating is done. This rating system is completely wrong.
මේ ඔය රේටින් ක්‍රමේ සම්පූර්ණ වැරදි සහ වංචාසහගතයි. ඔකටම ඇත්තම කතාව. නෑ රේටින්ස් අපි පැත්තකට දාලා
When you state facts, it will get broadcasted tonight. Let's keep the ratings aside. Let's consider the reality. You cannot put it like that. Consider fake news. That is what media does. No matter how favorable a news story is, the media does not cover it. Someone's fault is the main concern for them. Journalists need to do this first. More than state media, private media institutions have better ratings as they have more media freedom. State-owned media institutions do not have the freedom to write the way people want to consume it. There is an issue with regard to that. Moreover, there is an issue with regard to the quality as well.
On to other news now. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena left the island early this morning for an official visit to Thailand.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena left the island early this morning for an official visit to Thailand. The Prime Minister's media unit says the Prime Minister left the island to attend the United Nations Vesak Festival in Thailand. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena is due to meet the King of Thailand, the Thai Prime Minister and a group of diplomats during the visit. 11-member delegation left to Thailand with the Prime Minister.
One of the most fundamental rights in the human rights is the freedom of expression and thought. Now, former Minister Navin Dissanayake engaged in a tweet spat with Ricky Gervais, one of the most famous comedians in the world. This tweet exchange was on freedom of expression. Meanwhile, the LOLC Divisavya program supporting the education of Sri Lanka's very own school students is still underway. Now, today's phase of the LOLC Divisavya was carried out centering the Ampara district.
School students across Sri Lanka are being gifted school books and stationery through LOLC Divisavya. This program is being conducted by the LOLC group in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. Today, LOLC Divisavya program operated centering the Ampara Education Zone, Tirukkovel Education Zone and the Akkare Pattu Education Zone in the Ampara district. School books and other stationery were distributed among students in several schools including St. John's College, Rotai College and Selvapuram Tulasi College. LOLC Divisavya continues to support the future of our children.
News first with the people.
We spoke regarding the freedom of expression. Now, in that regard, in Iran, 3 men accused of deadly violence against security officers during last year's anti-government protests, despite objections from human rights groups. Now, authorities said the men were killed a police officer, and 2 members of the paramilitary Basij group in Isfahan, Iran's 3rd largest city, in November 2022. This was during the nationwide protests that were ongoing at the time.
All 3 men were convicted of Moharebe, an Islamic legal term meaning waging war against God, for using weapons, forming a group to undermine national security and cooperating with Mujahideen-e-Khalq, a European-based group that Tehran considers a, quote, terrorist organization, unquote. Meanwhile, a revolutionary court in Iran began the trial of a female journalist behind closed doors on charges linked to her coverage of a Kurdish Iranian woman, Mahsa Amini, whose death in custody last year sparked months of unrest. According to Iranian law, the charge can result in the death penalty. The murder of Mahsa Amini at 22 years old, while she was in the morality police care for allegedly breaking Iran's Islamic dress code, set off a wave of widespread unrest that lasted for months and represented the largest challenge to the country's cleric leaders in decades.
On to other news overseas, making headlines across the world. Disgraced Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes has reported to the federal prison, where she will serve an 11-year sentence.
Elizabeth Holmes was convicted early last year on 4 counts of fraud linked to her failed blood testing startup. Together, the pair are accused of duping some of the world's richest and most prominent investors, including media tycoon Rupert Murdoch and former U.S. Treasury Secretary George Shultz, into backing Theranos. The firm, once valued at $9 billion, promised it had technology that could detect conditions such as diabetes with just a few drops of blood. The tech, however, never worked. The company finally collapsed in 2018. In mid-May, a court rejected her request to remain free on bail, while a challenge to the original conviction was considered. She will serve her term in a minimum security prison in Texas. Holmes reported to the federal facility in Bryan, Texas, which holds between 500 and 700 inmates at any given time on Tuesday.
Now on to other news overseas. In the Australian hemisphere, the US Geological Survey reported a 6.2 magnitude earthquake off New Zealand's southern coast near the mostly uninhabited Auckland Islands this morning.
New Zealand's GeoNet monitoring agency said the epicenter was 33 kilometers below the Earth's surface. There was no immediate tsunami warning and no reports of damage on the New Zealand mainland. According to foreign media, a city council official from Invercargill, the nearest sizable city, said there had been no reports of the earthquake being felt there or damage to infrastructure.
In the recent months, artificial intelligence has been quite the talk of the town. Now, experts, including the heads of OpenAI and Google DeepMind, have warned that artificial intelligence could lead to the extinction of humanity.
Dozens have supported a statement published on the webpage of the Center for AI Safety. The Center for AI Safety website suggests a number of possible disaster scenarios. 1. AIs could be weaponized. For example, drug discovery tools could be used to build chemical weapons. 2. AI-generated misinformation could destabilize society and undermine collective decision-making. 3. The power of AI could become increasingly concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, enabling regimes to enforce narrow values through persuasive surveillance and oppressive censorship. 4. Enfeeblement, where humans become dependent on AI, similar to the scenario portrayed in the film WALL-E. Sam Altman, chief executive of ChatGPT maker OpenAI, Demis Hassabis, chief executive of Google DeepMind, and Dario Amodei of Anthropic and other experts have all supported the statement. However, other experts believe that fears of AI wiping out humanity are unrealistic and a distraction from issues such as bias in systems that are already a problem. NYU professor Jan LeCun, who also works at Meta, has said these apocalyptic warnings are overblown, tweeting that, quote, the most common reaction by AI researchers to these prophecies of doom is face-palming.
Taking a look back at some local news, after the Sinhala and Tamil New Year in April comes May. That is Vesak. After Vesak in May comes June, Poson. Now the National Poson Week commences today. This year's National Poson Festival will be held in Tantirimale's sacred ground, Mihintale and Anuradhapura. Now, Sri Lanka Railways has taken steps to deploy 10 special train journeys for the Poson Poya Festival. The trains will be in operation from tomorrow until the 5th of June. Special trains will operate from Beliatha, Gaul and Colombo Fort to Anuradhapura. Now, Sri Lanka Railways says several special train journeys will operate from Anuradhapura to several destinations including Colombo Fort as well. The Anuradhapura District Secretariat says a special program is in place to provide facilities for devotees celebrating the Poson festival in Mihintale and at various religious sites in Anuradhapura.
Facing many challenges at present. Despite our situation, we as Sri Lankans can come out of this situation stronger than before and be an example to the world. We can conquer these adversities. Sri Lanka is a nation that has overcome countless obstacles throughout history. Let's work together to build a better country for your future, my future, and the future of generations to come.
Gammetta. For the people, by the people.
On to another trending story in the recent few days. 55% of dengue cases in the island have been reported from the Western Province. This was revealed at the Development Committee meeting of the Colombo district yesterday.
This
is a slide that contains the dashboard. If you look here, you can see that the part in red here denotes the increase in dengue cases. I would like to ask the date concerning this. This is as of the end of April. This is the month of April. Those facts are not required. We cannot issue reports daily because it keeps on changing. Doctors do not say that. We began awareness programs in April. Today we require to see the progress that we have made. Despite his showing that there is a reduction in the cases, if you take the situation practically, for instance at the Gotatu MOH, where I visited for a meeting, it is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. They should be eager to begin fumigation of smoke in the areas, despite there being a reduction. As you say, what I see is completely different on the ground. The mosquitoes in the Kolanava and Gotatu MOH zone see a massive rise.
නැත්තම් අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දුම් ගහන්නේ නෑ.
මෙතන අපිට ඕනේ අද වෙනකොට අපි ගත්ත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග
We only fumigate smoke if cases are reported. Unless that happens, so we do not.
ඔව් මේ තියෙන අද උදේ කොළඹ
We need to know what measures have been taken so far. What are the preventive measures we took? What is our progress? This is a report from the Western Province which we received today. Doctor, the media has said last week that almost 20% of cases reported from the island were from the Western Province.
බස්නාහිර පළාතේ භාගයක් තියෙනවා. කොළඹ ඊට භාගයක්.
Yes, it's 50%. Please come prepared next time.
The Rice Research and Development Institute in Batalagoda says that multiple diseases have been affecting the cultivation of paddy.
Well, the Rice and Development Institute in Batalagoda says that multiple diseases have been affecting the cultivation of paddy. Director of the Rice Research and Development Institute, Professor Jayantha Senanayaka, says that the worm disease has been reported from many areas of the northern and Batiklo areas of the country. He added that the situation must be analysed and prompt action must be taken to tackle the issue.
Now the news now. Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kenzio Kamura, is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka on Wednesday for an official 2-day visit. The State Minister of Finance said he is due to hold talks with the President, Finance Minister officials and officials of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Okamura will also take an observational tour of several projects including Colombo Port City. The State Minister of Finance said he is due to participate in several rounds of discussions regarding recent trends in Sri Lanka's economic program, opportunities to empower the economy in the future and ways to minimize obstacles and delays. That's all the news for now. For more details on these stories and others, visit our website at www.newsfirst.lk and stay tuned to our social media pages for the latest. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I'm Sandro Sathajit signing off. Take care.